Happy New Year, everybody, or possibly Happy Easter. This is an Easter egg that I purchased on the 29th of December. And if you're ever wondering why they start putting Easter eggs in the shops so ridiculously early, it's because idiots like me buy them. So I've decided that I'm going to celebrate New Year with an Easter egg. It's a little one, but I think it's got Freddos in it. Hang on, see if I can pop it open. Dramatic reveal! It's got Freddos in it! Oh, that's the best thing. I love a Freddo. And now there's a kitten on my note, as I knew there would be. You've got wet paws. Wait. Madam, why have you got wet paws? Get down there. Go on. Oh, she's got a wet tail as well. Right, anyway. So this was meant to be the Christmas video, but it didn't get done. And before that, it was meant to be my 69 subscriber special. Because when I got to 69 subscribers, it stayed there for a really long time, and I thought it would be hilarious to do a 69 subscriber special, which was going to be a complete sex guide to Dragon Age Origins. Like everybody in the game that you can sleep with, and the circumstances in which you can sleep with them, blah blah blah. It was just going to be a daft, silly video that I was going to do. I never got around to doing it. So now, lo and behold, it's a New Year's Day video. Now I am going to let you in on a little secret as to why the first two videos didn't get done, and why most of my videos in this vein don't get done. It's because I have to do homework for them. Like I have to actually, Google things and make notes and sort of, have some vague kind of preparation for the video. And I don't like doing homework. Homework is boring. I never did any of my homework in school. I just want to get to the exciting bit of recording the video. So, the entirety of the preparation that I have done for this is to make a list of all the characters that you can sleep with. That's it. And throughout the course of the video, I'm actually going to be Googling things. So, we're going to do the research throughout the video. So, the purpose of this video is to detail exactly how many characters you can sleep with, not romance, sleep with, across the whole game of Dragon Age Origins, but also how many can you sleep with in one playthrough. I don't have much of a plan, I'll be honest. In fact, I think I have even less of a plan than what I normally do, so this should be exciting. I have my laptop here, which you can't actually see. You can just about see. There we go, that's my laptop. And I'm going to be Googling stuff while we're doing this. This could be great. I'm starting the year as I mean to go on here, just disorganised and dishevelled. Okay, so, first things first. There are 13 characters throughout the game who can be slept with, not including the prostitutes at the Pearl in Denerim. We're not including them. We're going to scrap them because it's going to get too confusing, because there's the ones that you can actually pick, but then there's also like a surprise me option where like you sort of find yourself in a random situation. There's one that involves nugs. I'm pretty sure there's one that involves a scarecrow or something like that. I can't remember. So it's just going to get too confusing. We're discounting them. We are discounting the prostitutes of the Pearl. So there are 13 in total. That is 7 women, 5 men, and 1 demon. Also, 6 of them are human. 1, 2, 3 are elves, and 1, 2, 3 are dwarves. Does that work out? Yeah, that works out. 4 of them are confined to an origin, so they're specific to like you can only sleep with them in that origin. Like if you see what I mean, if you pick that origin because they're only in the origin story, they're not in the actual game. 4 of them are your companions, of course. 2 are at Redcliffe. 2 are in the Brazilian Forest. And poor Isabella is the only one in Denerim, so long as we don't count the prostitutes at the Pearl. There are also 2 characters that you can get a kiss off of, but it doesn't go any further than that. So, yes, they're sort of like going to be an honourable mention at the end. So I'm going to try and figure out, I'm going to go through each of them one at a time, and then I'm going to collect them all together and try to figure out how many you could sleep with in the course of one playthrough. So, there are 2 who are only available to you if you pick the human noble origin. That is Iona, who is an elven maid. Oh, she's an elf, isn't she? I was counting her as a human when I was counting up. So there's what? 4 elves? 4 elves, 3 dwarves, and 5 humans. That work? Yeah. So Iona is the lady-in-waiting of Lady Landra, who is visiting the castle when you're playing the human noble origin. she's introduced to you, and then she goes and waits in the library, and you can go and flirt with her and proposition her, and you can spend the night with her, regardless of whether you're male or playing as either male or female. Similarly, Dairon is the son of Lady Landra, introduced to you at the same time as Iona, also goes and waits in the library where you can go and flirt with him and spend the night with him, regardless of whether you're playing male or female. However, you can only pick one. You can't spend the night with both of them. Neither of them are into that. But they're both quite happy to swing both ways. So yes, you can romance either of them regardless of gender, but not both. The only other origin-only companions, let's call them, are Mardi and Telly from the dwarf noble origin. So they are basically... I don't want to call them prostitutes, that's kind of what they are. They're trying to, because of the way the caste system works in Orzammar, they're like casteless, but they go out hunting for highborn dwarves in the hope to get pregnant, and then if they have a son, that son will also be a lord, therefore they will be kind of elevated. It's like their way of getting out of Dusttown. So if you are playing as a male dwarf noble, although it is male only, they will sort of proposition you. And you can spend the night with both of them. And if you do, you end up getting Mardi pregnant, and that sort of comes back later on in the game. You actually end up having a son, I believe. It's been a while since I've done it. But you can sleep with both of them. So that's like two instantly if you're playing as a male dwarf noble. So male dwarf noble is already ahead of the game in how many can you sleep with in one playthrough, because he's got two he can have. Although I believe he has them one after the other, he doesn't have them both at the same time. They're very specific in mentioning that, I recall, that they won't go in together. Apparently that's beneath their dignity or something. Okay, and then we are going to move on to Redcliffe. So, there are two available to you at Redcliffe. One being the Desire Demon, who has Connor enthralled. So, if you are playing as a mage, and you choose to use the blood magic ritual to travel into the Fade to fight the demon, instead of fighting the demon, you negotiate with the demon. The demon will offer you several things in exchange for you kind of, letting her keep Connor. One of them is unlocking blood magic. I believe there's money. There might be like a skill point or an attribute point or something like that, and the other is sex, basically. And if you choose that one, you get a cutscene where he snogs the demon, and that's kind of it. Also available to both genders, as far as I can tell. I don't think demons are our picky on that front. So yes, there is the Desire Demon that you can genuinely get frisky with, only in very specific circumstances. Though you have to be playing as a mage, you have to do the blood magic ritual and go into the Fade, and then you have to be prepared to negotiate with the demon and let the demon keep Connor. The other one in Redcliffe is Dwin, who is only available to a female dwarf. So Dwin is the mercenary who Murdoch wants you to persuade to help defend the village. And you can do this by either intimidating him, you might be able to pay him, I'm not entirely sure, or you can persuade him, and your persuade options are one, I think it's like that you'll put in a good word with the Jarl or something like that, and the other one is you can proposition him, for sex, in return for him defending the village. But he will only accept to a female dwarf. Any female character can make the offer, but he'll only accept for a dwarf if you persuade it high enough. But yes, you can genuinely get frisky with Dwin if you so desire. So far we've got one for a human noble, we've got two for a dwarf noble, one for a mage, and one for a female dwarf. So male dwarf noble is winning at the minute. And then we've got the Brazilian Forest. So, yes, Cameron and Gaynor. So Cameron and Gaynor are a young, loved-up couple. And I think, Gaynor... Cameron wants to marry Gaynor, but he hasn't proved himself as a hunter because he hasn't gone out and killed a beast himself and brought back its pelt. And she refuses to marry him until he does this and proves himself as a hunter, but because, you know, the clan is sort of besieged by werewolves, he sort of hasn't had a chance. So there are several ways you can resolve this. You can use your powers of persuasion to, you know, show them that love conquers all and it's more important than whether he's, you know, killed a beast or not. You can offer to go and kill one yourself and bring him the pelt, and I cannot remember if he will accept that or not. Probably if your persuade is high enough. You can also sleep with either of them. Now, only a male warden can sleep with Gainer, and only a female warden can sleep with Cammon. It never turns out well. Basically, if you're playing as a male warden, you can tell Gainer that you know, she needs a real man, and sort of take her away and seduce her because she's all sweet and innocent and naive. And then you can tell Cameron about it, and it sort of completely breaks things down. And she's riddled with guilt, and it all just goes really badly. And you can sort of do the same if you're playing as a female warden. You can do it to Cameron. You can sort of say something. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's something like, I know you can say, "Have you bedded her yet?" And then you sort of suggest that, you know, things will go a lot better if he knows what he's doing, and he should, you know, let you teach him a thing or two. And again, he ends up being riddled with guilt, and they don't end up living happily ever after, let's say that. It's not a nice thing to do, but you can do it. So that is available to any... Cameron is available to any female warden, and Gainer is available to any male warden. So that puts an extra tick in the box for male dwarf noble, doesn't it? That's 3 he's up to now. Right, and before we go on to the companions, Isabella. Now, Isabella probably deserves a video in her own right, to be honest, because it's a bit complicated, all of the circumstances in which you can sleep with Isabella. Okay, so any warden can sleep with Isabella, right? Which immediately puts another tick in the box for dwarf noble. I should actually be writing this down. Right, I've hashed up a quick table sort of thing. I think I've got all that right. So at the minute, the dwarf noble, male dwarf noble, is in the lead with 4. The poor elves only have 2 each at the minute, as does male dwarf commoner, whereas female dwarf commoner has 3 because of Dwyn, of all people. Yes, anyway, so Isabella. So any companion, not companion, warden, can sleep with Isabella. So you encounter Isabella in the Pearl, where she's duelling people, and you unlock the duelist specialisation through speaking to her. And you can either do it by beating her at cards, or by sleeping with her. You do need a certain level of coercion to persuade her to do that, but I don't think that the level is that high. I think she's quite easily persuaded. Firstly, even if you've unlocked Duelist already, you still get this option, even though she's, you know, offering to teach you to be a duelist. And if you've unlocked it in one playthrough, it will then stay unlocked in subsequent playthroughs, but even so, you can still do it. So this is available to you in every playthrough. Every warden has the option to sleep with her. She's not picky at all. If Zevran is in the party with you, when you speak to her, he will ask to join in. And he will do this regardless of gender, origin, or relationship status. Even if you're not in a romance with him, even if you're in a romance with other members of the party, doesn't matter. He will always ask to join in, and you can always accept. So, actually, every single one can sleep with Zevran. I've only just twigged that, so that's another tick in everybody's box. Male dwarf noble is now up to 5 people that he can sleep with. Now, the party romances do have a bit of an effect. So, if you are in a romance with Morrigan, and you, and she's, you know, in the party, and you go off with Isabella, she will disapprove massively. And she will not join in, cannot be persuaded to join in, doesn't matter what you do. If you are in a romance with either Alistair or Liliana, and you hardened them during their personal quest, because they're the 2 companions where how you resolve their personal quest affects their personality going forward. So you can either soften them or harden them. If you harden them, both of them, they will or can be persuaded to come and join in the fun. If they're softened, or if you just haven't done their personal quest yet, then they cannot be persuaded to join in the fun, and they will disapprove massively of you going off with Isabella. But A hardened Liliana will be, well, or can be persuaded to have a threesome with Isabella, as can a hardened Alistair. And there's a nice tiny little Easter egg that if you're playing as a female warden and you engage in a threesome with Isabella and Liliana and Ogren is in the party, he will faint, which is quite cute. It's also worth noting that if you're in a romance with Liliana and she's hardened and you have persuaded her to join in the fun with Isabella and Zevran is in the party, he will again ask to join in the fun. So you can actually have a foursome. That is the only way that you can have a foursome, though, in the entire game. I can't believe I'm honestly, genuinely explaining how to have a foursome in a game. Like, what has my life come to? But that's how you do it, because if you're in a romance with Alistair and you persuade Alistair to join in, Zevran at that point isn't interested anymore, he backs out. So for some reason, Zev's fine with everybody else. He's fine with every warden and he's fine with Liliana, but he's not into Alistair at all on any level. It's not Alistair that has the problem with it, which is weird. It's Zevran. Yes, so basically every possible combination is Warden and Isabella, Warden, Isabella and Zevran, Warden, Isabella and Alistair, Warden, Isabella and Liliana, Warden, Isabella, Liliana and Zevran are your options with Isabella. But basically Isabella is just a tick in every box, as is Zevran. And I was going to say, I mean, obviously every warden can sleep with Zevran because Zevran swings both ways, but I mean, even wardens who haven't romanced him can sleep with him. You don't need to romance him in order to sleep with him. That's another point, actually, because I'm putting all these ticks in the box for who you can sleep with, but then when it comes to the companions, it's going to be a bit more complicated, isn't it? Because you've got, like, love triangles and things. We'll put it in anyway, though. So we've already ticked that everybody can sleep with Zevran. Everybody can sleep with Liliana, because she is romanceable to all. And then it'll be another tick in every box because Alistair is available to the female wardens. And, what's her name? Mogren? Who's Mogren? Morrigan is available to all the male wardens. Okay, so at final count, and I've double checked it, I drew out another chart just to like double check. I think male dwarf noble wins because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for male dwarf noble. Female dwarf noble 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Male dwarf commoner 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Female dwarf commoner 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The female dwarves have an extra one because of Dwyn. Circle mage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for both male and female. Human noble 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for both. Dale Shelf 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, the elves miss out a bit because they're not, I mean, unless you're playing as an elf mage, where you can sleep with the desire demon. They miss out because they don't have the desire demon, they don't have the origin ones, and they don't have Dwyn. So, oh well, sucks to be an elf. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for both of the Dalish elves, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for both of the city elves. However, this is assuming that you're sleeping with both of your romanceable companions, because, right, every single warden can sleep with Zevran, regardless of romance status, because of the option to sleep with him and Isabella together. So we're not even going to think about his romance, not even going to mention it. Then you've got Liliana, who can sleep with both male and females. So she can get in a like a love triangle with either Alistair or Morrigan. But I know that Morrigan and Zevran, you can sleep with both of them quite early on in the romance, whereas Alistair and Liliana are a bit pickier. I think you have to wait until like you've completed their personal quests or something. or until you've maxed out their approval or whatever. Which means you should be able to sleep with Morrigan quite early on in the romance, then switch to Leliana. So you should be able to have both of them. Whether you can have Alistair and Leliana in one playthrough, though. I mean, you can get into a love triangle with them, but whether you can actually, you know, sleep with them, get to the exciting bit, I'm not 100% certain. Okay, I'm having to consult the wiki, and this is why I don't like having to do flipping research or homework or whatever you want to call it, because it's too confusing. So right, listen to this shit, right? For Leliana, if her romance flag is set to active and her approval is care, 51 or higher, she will start an argument if you click on her after either a romance with Alistair approval has reached a door, 71 or higher, or the warden has slept with either Morrigan or Zevran. Their exact approval ratings don't matter in this case. It is possible to finesse your way through this conversation without breaking up with any characters. You can generally either lie or try to use your persuade skill to convince Leliana that you didn't sleep with Morrigan or Zevran. You can be evasive. Actually, that's quite interesting. You can simply tell them what you have with the other companion is just a fling or harmless flirting, as long as you don't tell her that you have something special with the other character. Okay, I started on that big spiel to sort of tell you how needlessly complicated it all is and how my brain just doesn't comprehend anything. But actually that's quite useful because that does prove that you can sleep with Morrigan early on. And then you can apparently convince Leliana that it was just a fling. However, it specifically states that for Alistair, it's only if you reach an approval of a door, and it also says, yeah, you can simply tell Leliana that what you have with the other companion is just a fling, and then in brackets, Morrigan and Zevran, or harmless flirting, brackets, Alistair, suggesting that you haven't slept with Alistair because Alistair's a bit pickier. But of course, I do think that you could probably romance Morrigan, get to the point where you sleep with her, and then start flirting with Leliana, and break up with Morrigan, and go with Leliana. And then you could harden Leliana in her companion quest, have a foursome with her and Zevran. I was going to say at that point you've slept with every romanceable companion, but then you haven't slept with Alistair, have you? I don't think, no, it's not going to be possible to sleep with all four of them on one playthrough, is there? You could sleep with 3 of them, but not all 4 of them. Oh, that's rubbish, man. There's got to be a mod that fixes that, surely. For all companions, including Leliana, a companion whose romance flag is set to active and whose approval is a door, 71 or higher, will start an argument if you click on the character when another character is also in a romance with you and has an approval rating that is a door, 71 or higher. For Leliana, that is the second time she'll give the warden a hard time over another character. Oh, I see. There is no way around a breakup this time. You will be forced to make a choice. Right. Depending on the wording of your choice, the romance with the character you do not choose will either simply be cut off, with the possibility of being restarted later, or will be ended permanently if you're particularly harsh in your breakup. Oh, interesting. Okay, so, interestingly, when it comes to a love triangle with Alistair and Leliana, typically you're not going to be able to sleep with both of them, because you have to have a very, very high approval rating. I think you have to be above a door. And as soon as you reach a door with both of them, it'll trigger the discussion where one of them will confront you, and at that point you have to choose, right? And you won't have slept with either of them yet because their approval has to be higher than that to trigger the sex scene. Whereas with Morrigan and Zevran, the approval is lower, so you can sleep with them quite early on, and then you could start romancing either Leliana or Alistair, and then you could break up with Morrigan or Zevran. So, so the point is, if you're in a love triangle with Alistair and Leliana, ordinarily you would not be able to sleep with both of them because it would get to a point where you would have to pick one of them. However, there is a bit here that says, note, there is a way to get both Alistair and Leliana to love you without having to not talk to Alistair, because the point is, you have to not talk to them so it doesn't trigger the jealousy conversation. When you have Alistair in love with you, romance Leliana before doing her quest until her jealousy dialogue triggers. Choose her and then go and talk to Alistair. Alistair's jealousy dialogue also triggers. Choose him. Now your relationship with Leliana will have ended. Do her quest and harden her. Get her approval rating to 76. Now, when you talk to her about Marjolaine and following the She Was Special to You line, you can rekindle the romance. Now you'll be romantically involved with both, and since both jealousy triggers have already triggered, they won't trigger again. So that's probably a bug. I don't know if that's actually a thing. Obviously, this is just in the wiki, which, you know, is editable by anybody. Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me at all, because the romances are very, very buggy in Origins. But I like that. I actually like the fact, I like how buggy they are, because they're so unpredictable. And you end up in love triangles without meaning to, and then you end up just romancing the wrong person. And it just, I mean, it keeps things fresh. It's not like other RPGs where, you know, you have to deliberately pursue a romance, and then it's kind of always going to work out fine for the most part. I much prefer it in Origins, where it's that sort of kind of unpredictability about it, so your playthroughs don't always go the way you planned them. And it's because it's buggy, but, you know, that's not always necessarily a bad thing. However, I don't actually know how true that is. I mean, it might have been patched out, who knows. So basically, we're going to assume that if you're in a love triangle with Leliana and Alistair, you can't sleep with both of them, because you have to pick one before it gets to that point. So, let's work this out then. So, every warden can sleep with Zevran, regardless of romance status, because of the Isabella thing. Male wardens can all sleep with Morrigan and Leliana. Female wardens can't sleep with Leliana and Alistair. They have to pick one or the other. So all of the female wardens are going to have a tick taken off of them. That's rubbish. Why do the men get more fun than us? I mean, I would like to do an actual proper romance guide. A guide to all the romances and, like, the love triangles that are possible and stuff like that. I've sort of planned for the past, like, 2 years that it would be, like, my Valentine's Day special. Whether it'll ever happen or not, I don't know, because, like I say, it's the kind of thing I'd have to research and do homework for and actually be, you know, organised and mentally prepared, which is not things that I specialise in. Right, okay, so the final scores are Dwarf Noble 7, male Dwarf Noble 7, female Dwarf Noble 5, male Dwarf Commoner 5, female Dwarf Commoner 5, male Circle Mage 6, female Circle Mage 5, male Human Noble 6, female Human Noble 5, male Dalish Elf 5, female Dalish Elf 4, male City Elf 5, female City Elf 4. Now let's see if that works. So, like, this is like how many you can sleep with in one playthrough. So, if we go female City Elf, so that's 4. So it's going to be Zevran, Isabella, Cammon. I can't even think who the other one's going to be. Oh, it's going to be either Leliana or Alistair, isn't it? So, yeah, so we've got Isabella, Cammon, Zevran, and then either Leliana or Alistair, but not both. Yeah, so that works. And then male City Elf, you'll have Isabella, Gainer, Zevran, Leliana, and Morrigan. So that works out as well. And then male Dwarf Noble, who is the one who's won, you've got Mardy and Telly from his Origin quest. Isabella, Zevran, Leliana, Morrigan, Gainer. Yeah, that's it. That's all of them. So the least amount of characters that you can sleep with in one playthrough is 4 if you're playing as a female City or Dalish Elf, which is funny because my, like, canon warden is a female City Elf, and one of my things about her is that she's quite, like, promiscuous. I mean, she's a complicated character, let's say that, but in my head I always have this idea that she's quite promiscuous. Like, she romances Alistair. This is the story. The story is that, like, she romances Alistair, and her and Alistair are, like, well, Alistair's more in love with her than she is with him. And then on the night before the battle, she goes out to the Pearl, gets drunk, and has a bit of fun time with Isabella and Zevran, and she never tells Alistair. And then Alistair dies, killing the archdemon, and it's sort of a tragedy. And she forever is haunted by this guilt that she cheated on him and never told him, and then he died to save her. So yeah, that's kind of... I was about 14 when I came up with it. When I did that playthrough, I was into tragedy. But yeah, that's like the story of my canon one. But yeah, male dwarf noble. I'm gonna have to try that now when I get to my male dwarf noble and the Dragon Age project. I'm gonna have to see if I can sleep with all of them. So it's Mardy and Telly, and then Liliana, Morrigan, Zevran, Isabella, Gaina. And then there are, of course, the prostitutes at the Pearl. So I mean, like, anybody can make the numbers up, really. But I'm not counting them. And then we have two honourable mentions. The honourable mentions are Bella from Redcliffe, because you can get a kiss off of her if you're playing as a male warden. I can't remember the exact circumstances in which you can do that. But obviously you talk to her before the battle, and she's all like, oh, I'm pleased you're fighting in the battle and all that kind of stuff. And you can offer her all sorts of things. You can give her money to get out of Redcliffe. You can get Lloyd killed in the battle so that she can take over the tavern. You can get her a job at, well, like working for Ban Tegan as a maid, I think. And somewhere in the course of all of that, if you're playing as a male warden, you can get a kiss off of her. And you can also do the same with Caitlin, also in Redcliffe. After you rescue Bevan, you can sort of, if you're playing as a male warden, you can sort of demand a kiss in payment, and it's very weird and creepy. It's not quite as weird and creepy with Bella, but with Caitlin, it's very weird and creepy, and it's just a very disturbing sort of thing that you can do. You can kind of demand a kiss off of her, and it's a bit weird. And I think, like, Liliana massively disapproves if you do that. But yes, that is it, as far as I'm aware. I think that's it. I don't think I've missed anybody. And that was our New Year special. I wanted a daft video to kick us off for 2023, and I think this qualifies as a daft video. I'm going to go now. I'm not going to do anything daft, like detail my plans for videos and the channel and whatnot going forward, because as you well know, my plans never amount to anything. I can see a kitten wandering around in the background. So yes, I'm just going to go. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to say that there will be more videos at some point in the future. That's about all I can promise, and hope you all have a very happy new year.